and welcome to another episode of Becoming All In, the podcast and the show. It is me, your host, Tanisha Yorrick, aka the founder and CEO of Your Other Mind, business growth and implementation agency for all my misfit founders, entrepreneurs, creators, and leaders looking to make a difference in the world by doing their thing. Hey y'all! It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without a dope beat to step two. And by that, I'm referencing the fact that, Becoming All In has been on a small, brief hiatus while I, the founder, the host, got my life together and went through some major transitions. And so with my feet on the ground, I'm happy to say, welcome to another episode of Becoming All In. How you doing? Hope you're having a good time. I am fairly fresh off of a coaching call in my community, Cornerstone. Shout out to all my clients. We had our life coaching call tonight, so I'm fully fresh off of that. And I went to go from that space right into today's episode. And I'm really excited about today's episode because we kind of came up with some of this stuff in the life coaching call. So it's an opportunity for me to really take the work that I do with my clients and bring it into the 3D and the now. Okay? So what's tonight's topic? Let's talk about it. So, why smart leaders stay stuck and how to break free. Now, this is something that I want to talk about because it's such a loaded part of the conversation. It is, most of my clients tend to be women, especially at the beginning of their work. And there is a thing that is a through line that happens for every woman client, every man client, usually when they meet me in my work and the company's work. And the point that I meet these people at is always this feeling of being stuck. This feeling of like, I don't know what I'm doing. Or, I've been doing X for so long and it's no longer working. Or I am in corporate. I want to do something else, but I have no idea how to get there. And it's this feeling and this energy and this idea of stagnation that is prevalent when I usually meet people at the beginning of our work together. And people genuinely think and genuinely believe that they are stuck at some point of no return. And it's my work as a business growth coach and a strategist and a consultant, or a strategic business architect to help you understand that you're not stuck, right? That the stuckness that you feel is actually very romantically and inherently related to your expertise, your intelligence, your wisdom. The things that have always gotten you by in corporate environments is the same exact mentality and thing that will stagnate your journey as a whole. What do I mean by that? Because a lot of you are going to say, well, I'm really successful in my corporate career. I'm really successful in my things. And you are that brilliant. And I'm also here to let you know that traditional corporate structures are designed and built a way to produce a certain outcome. Now, that does not dismiss the accolades and the things that you have done. You have done that. You have rightfully earned that. What I'm saying is that traditional corporate environments are they're created in a way that says, if you know how to play this game, if you know how to be a version of yourself, then within this structure, you will succeed. And you have, right? You fairly have earned that. You worked hard. You were intelligent. You were, the best of the best. You stayed up late or you woke up early and you did that. Now, when it's time for people to go and make a greater impact in their work and things that they have to offer, that is when they usually feel that stuck feeling. And so they come to me like, Tanisha, like, what does that mean? Like, why do I feel so stuck? And I usually tell them that you're probably ready for the next level of your highest self-expression, right? And that's usually, that is what business is. It is a level of your personal self-expression and your personal impact being offered to the world, to witness and to experience. And so when people are stuck or feeling stagnant, it's an indicator that you are ready for the next level of this thing. Now, if you're a corporate baddie or a corporate girly or a corporate they, them, him, right, it's going to look a little different from you that are entrepreneurs or solopreneurs that have been doing your work for a really long time. The transitions look different, but the cues are similar, right? In both realities, you are now having to graduate to a new level of the way in which you show up to your work, the way in which you show up to being yourself, and the way in which you contribute and navigate your contributions. So what that means is, for lack of a better phrase, exit strategies, right? Developing new ways of existing in relation to what you feel your greater purpose is. And this is where that whole multi-passionate thing comes up, right? Because this idea that you can't have a corporate career and also, have a company that's profitable, emphasis on profitability, a company that's profitable and scalable, and you can't do all the things you want to do, those are things of the past. Those are thoughts and ideas and concepts of the past that are so far behind us, right? And this idea that you have to be an entrepreneur, but you have to do it the really grindy way and the solopreneur way, and you're not meant to do more, it's not really real, because you can hire a team and you can hire people and you can move into your zone of genius. And so with both of these ideas, you have two different archetypes, but both feeling that stuck, stagnant feeling. And it is your intelligence, it is your exact wisdom, your exact skill set and degrees, right, that got you to this place of, I'm just a little too smart for my own good, right? Okay, so let's break that down. What do I mean by that? When I say people are smart for their own good, it's because when you are looking to become greater, to make a greater impact, to become more yourself, to live out loud, any of that language, I call it business, you can call it whatever you want to call it. The outcome is usually a great contribution to our society, some really dope or amazing thing that exists, and you are just living it, right? When you get that call, right, it doesn't get rid of all the intelligence and the way that you have learned to play the game. When most people enter entrepreneurship, they enter entrepreneurship using much of that same grit and energy that they navigated their corporate traditional careers with. They enter the space with the same thing, right? And they are now trying to set their own rules and make their own path, but they know only one way of existing, one way of navigating, right? Corporate baddies, same thing. They are taking their expertise and they're wanting to branch out and do a little side hustle, but they want to do it in a way that feels safe and familiar, because our world is primed for us to work in specific kind of ways, right? And so that same intelligence that got you there is now the intelligence that you want to rely on. You want to rely on routines, right, that maybe are kind of outdated and don't really fit. You want to rely on getting it done on your own and not really leaning into anyone because you don't trust them. You want to rely on your own wits, your own smarts, and you want to do everything because you want to validate yourself, right? We're creating a wheel. That same thing that got you your bachelor's degrees and your master's degrees and maybe even your PhD is a very specific way of navigating a charted path. And in entrepreneurship, there is no charted path. Let that sink in. In becoming a founder and CEO, there is no charted path. There's only the path that is very specifically yours and your unique way of navigating that. And so when I meet people that feel stuck, they usually have to recondition their minds and their mindset and their way of being in anything that says me, my smarts, my intelligence, and what I have to offer. They have to recondition that self of them. They have to take everything that they have learned and kind of unlearn it, reprogram it, while learning themselves. So if you feel that you're at a space where you're stuck, 9 times out of 10 you're not stuck. Your intelligence is just justifying where you have always been and telling you a specific narrative about it, right? And your job, your goal is to now become more yourself. Multi-passionate enterprises do not get built by playing the game of what corporate says. Someone's telling me what to do, and this is what I know to do. You do this step, and this step, and this step, and this step. No. Multi-passionate enterprises that are profitable are a series of becoming more and more you. It is a series of larger risk steps, strategically placed risky steps that are designed to help you stretch your capacity and open up the door for more of your authentic personality. It is within your authentic personality do you find the keys of your self-expression that are missing from your overall corporate picture or your overall entrepreneurship picture. And so what I do with people is I help them to really kind of rediscover the misfit in them, the them that they were when they entered their field, the them that they were when they started to see the problems that this industry that they're here to innovate had, the they that they were when they decided to commit themselves to this path and this process, right? They wanted to, I don't know, maybe they're in, I'm looking at books, paper, right? And they wanted to revolutionize the paper industry and use recycled paper. But when they got to their career, they found it safer and better to just navigate these specific challenges in this specific way. Okay, let's start that over. All right, so yeah, so like the journey of like getting unstuck and finding your balance, your authentic voice, your new career, your new most expansive self is about like slowly undoing some of the thoughts and the processes and the things that you've learned and the way you have learned to be. So when people come up to me and they're like, Tanisha, you know, I'm stagnant, but I really want to do something different. I want to become free. What you're really saying to me is, I want to learn a new way of being. I want to learn a new way of existing. I'm still very passionate about this thing or this industry, but I have other passions too. And so the way that you build a multi-passionate enterprise, you know, if you're familiar with the Cornerstone framework, what we do is I teach you how to build a multi-passionate enterprise by monetizing your top 3 passions and working under 20 hours a week, right? While doing $30,000 months or more. That's like the promise, right? And so the way that you get to that is you start to deprogram the parts of you that was navigating your career, that was doing it for the validation and for the approval of what was going on within that system. And you start to reprogram your subconscious and your way of being and your existence around who you energetically are, who you authentically are if left unbothered, right? And that's where we pull out all those really, really random ideas. You know, you're a CPA, but you want to bake goods and you also sing on the side, right? We start to pull these things out and we build a universe around possibilities, right? But when we go to school and we're being conditioned and we're navigating our careers and we're being conditioned to show up between this time and this time, walk this career path, do this performance plan, do this thing and this thing and this thing, you kind of get coded with the desire to meet the approval of other people. It becomes your coding. And so then what has to happen, what has to shift, and what you have to learn is how to break that down into something that allows freedom. So when people are like, I want to do something different in my career, they're asking to be set free from the way that they have always been in approval of, looking for approval of others. That's what we do so well. So I'll use myself as an example. I want to tell my own story, right? So like for me, when I first left corporate environments, I was in tech startup. So most people say it's not really corporate. But when I first left that industry, I knew that strategic operations was everything that I wanted to do in the world. I loved it. But I'm also an active spiritualist and a spiritual strategist and a gifted one at that. And I fragmented my work where I was a consultant over here and you can book me for consulting gigs. And I was a spiritual teacher over here and you could book me for readings. And it was so separate. And my brain could not wrap itself around the idea that I would show up to the marketplace and say, hey, I am spiritual, I am operations, I am growth and profit, and I use all of them together. I had the hardest time. So for the first 2 years, I got a lot of clients they were great clients, fantastic people, fantastic humans, but they were also a little bit misaligned, right? Because they only represented one side of me. They weren't full to the capacity of like who I was and who I felt I needed to be. But it was hard for me to break through the idea of what I had always known work to be. Work had to be showing up to produce a result, right? If I could not produce a result, then my work was no longer valid. If I could not 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5 walk these steps to offer that to my client, then my work, my contribution to them was not valid, right? And I was really committed to that one way of view. Just like on the other side with the spiritual work. I was doing spiritual work for people, and if it could not produce an exact result in this order, I had the hardest time. I developed routines, and I was like, I'm going to work from this time to this time, and I'm going to do this and this, and then on this time, I'll do this and this. And before you knew it, I had a schedule that was huge and ridiculous and imbalanced. What does that sound like? The corporate baddie who, wants to do her side hustle or wants to do their side hustle or his side hustle, but their time is like booked from 8 to 4, and then they have clients from 4 to 10, and they just don't know how. And before they know it, they're working a 16, 20-hour day and calling it vibes. And it's not that. And what the real work is finding the synchronicities within the work that you do. So for me, I was like, if spiritual stuff informs my process and what I do and how I build and design profitable things, then it's important for me to make sure that I include that into my work. It's important for me to start to bridge those gaps. And so this is the act of becoming, right? Becoming all in the podcast. Here we go. I had to become someone willing to integrate, bring together the best parts of me, my zones of genius within both worlds, right? I had to be willing to say, my freedom is on the other side of the routine that I can build that puts all this work together. And over the last year and a half, I want to say, I started to get really, really good at it, and really, really good at that, and really, really good at that. More intricate moments of allowing more of myself out, and while turning off or turning down the inner voice that says, well, if you don't show up at this time, you're not good enough. If you don't produce this result, you're not good enough. If you don't deliver this deliverable, you're not good enough. And what this looked like was me really understanding my energetic design, my energetic being, my spiritual roadmap, my energetic roadmap that's codified to my impact, my human design, my numerology, my gene keys, and leaning into that while finding the overlap in the two worlds that I was building, right? That anyone that wants to work with me would have to know that I'm a spiritualist first, and that informs my process, that I don't do anything without spirit and God and ritual and things and sacredness to invite the knowing and the clairvoyance and the clairaudience and the clairsentience that I have that informs profitable programs and process, right? And so I'm using this as an example to say, when you think you're stuck, I want you to ask yourself, how much of myself is actually present in the work that I'm doing? Because when we're talking about breaking free, it's not just your job that you're breaking free from. It's not just your solopreneurship that you're breaking free from. You're breaking free from the limitations that you have put on yourself, the limitations that you have put on your own identity, the things that you have reduced yourself down to so that you're only showing up as one version of yourself. That's where profitability begins. Quiet as it's kept. Profitability, 20 hours or less weeks, $30,000 or more. It starts with you being brave enough to let yourself be more you in very strategic and incremental ways over time. Understanding and trusting that your brain is going to convince you that what you're doing doesn't make any sense. Your brain is going to convince you that if you don't have steps to follow, that it's not enough. Your brain is going to convince you that you can't go and create your own roadmap and blueprint and walk that path confidently because you have learned so much. You've made it successfully to a bachelor's degree. You've made it successfully to the master's. You've made it successfully to the awards. That way of navigating the process, navigating the world that we have had thus far, it works for you. And so you have to unlearn that. You have to unlearn that what has worked for you just because it was a thing, it's not the best thing. That being you is better than all of that. And the more you can be, the more you can introduce, and the more you can hold on to, the better your outcome's going to be. So, are you actually stuck? Or have you just not learned how to be yourself yet? That's how you break free. So, if this episode of Becoming All In, the podcast and show, spoke to you, share it with a friend. Share the video, share the audio. Make sure that the right person gets to see it. Like, subscribe, and share so you don't miss out on anything that's coming up next. And I'll see you next week. Have a good one. So proud of you. Peace.